In this video, we are looking at one of the greatest theatrical entrepreneurs in history. Let's go. Yay, Paul from Small Crown Productions here. Welcome to the video. In this video, we are talking about the life of Philip Henslowe. Philip Henslowe was an amazing theatrical entrepreneur that was a rival in theatrical terms to William Shakespeare and the Lord Chamberlain's men. And we're going to take a bit of a dive into his life. So let's get started. Henslowe was born around 1550, and although we don't have a lot of information about the first 20 or so years of his life, we know he ended up in Southwark in around 1570. Now, as a youth, he took a job as an apprentice dyer. And he later married the widow of his master, the master dyer. Now, this opened up an opportunity for him to dig into a number of different business areas and really set his trajectory up for the future. Henslowe had his hand in a number of different businesses over the years. He was a moneylender, a pawnbroker. He traded goat skins. He was a starch maker. He opened a number of brothels, and he bought a lot of properties, usually inns and lodging houses. And whether those last three had anything to do with each other, who knows? He obviously saw the opportunity in the growing popularity of theatre at the time and built the Rose Theatre in 1587 in Southwark and hired it out to other acting companies. In 1592, his stepdaughter married one of the most popular actors of the time, Edward Allen, who was working as an actor for the company that would later become the Admiral's Men. Now, Henslowe continued his involvement in the theatre, and in 1595 was potentially involved in the building of the Swan Theatre. There are some records that indicate that he had some kind of dealings in the building of the Swan Theatre, even if it was just as a moneylender. In 1600, he opened the Fortune Theatre, which became the home base of the Admiral's Men. And in 1613 or 14, he built the Hope Theatre, which was actually a dual-purpose theatre, and it had a removable stage that they could use for bear baiting. Now, Henslowe died suddenly in 1616, and Edward Allen took over his holdings in a lot of these different businesses. One of the most fascinating things that we have on record about Henslowe is actually his financial accounts. A diary was found that kept a lot of accounts of his financial dealings around the Rose Theatre, and it actually holds records of his accounts for the Rose Theatre from the early days of his work. So you can see in there lots of information around what he paid, what they earned, what the theatres took in, what they purchased, a whole range of information that sheds an amazing amount of light on the workings of the theatre. And although it shows a lot of the takings that the theatre had, there is still some speculation about whether that was the total house takings or whether it was just his cut of the takings. And there's quite a bit of research that's been done to really dig into what the potential capacity was, what the houses might have looked like in numbers, like how many people actually attended the theatres, and comparing that with the numbers in his diary. So although we aren't 100% sure, there is quite a bit of research being done around the speculation of what those numbers might mean. So later in life, Henslowe, having teamed up with the Admiral's Men and building so many theatres, was considered one of the great rivals of Shakespeare's companies, the Lord Chamberlain's Men. But towards the later years of his life, the Lord Chamberlain's Men and the Admiral's Men are actually recorded as having worked together, particularly around times when the plague was afflicting playgoing in London. So a fascinating guy and super interesting to dig into. Definitely encourage you to go and find out a little bit more about Henslowe wherever you can. Thanks so much for being here. Hit that like button if you got anything out of this video. Subscribe to the channel. And of course, it would be great if you check out some of these other Shakespeare videos that'll pop up on the screen. I'll see you in the next one.